Welcome to the Lone Chemist Podcast.
Let's go.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, everybody. So thank you very much for joining us. This is the Lone Chemist Podcast. This is episode 15. My name is Johnny. I'm the Lone Chemist, as you can see from the depressed guy in the beaker on the screen. And so I am very, very excited. I have probably one of my biggest inspirations for actually getting on YouTube and being a complete hack. I do not have a hack with me. I actually have a guy who's very established in the realm of film critique and video essays and all that kind of jargon. So I have Nando from Nando V Movies here. He's a guy who has, I think, over 150K subs. I want to say something like that.
Yeah, somewhere in that area. I don't really check it as much as a bunch of other people that are close to me, but I think it's around there.
Well, nice, man. Obviously you have a really established channel, and like I said, I've been a fan for quite some time. But I've always wondered, what does the Nando part of your name mean?
That's a great question, and yeah, I get this a lot. So my name is not Nando. It is a cool name, and I've always liked it. But honestly, it was just what happened was when I went to college, when freshman year, in my dorm, there were like four other. My first name is Matt or Matthew or whatever. There were like four other people in my hall that had that same first name, because it's like one of those 7 names that most white guys have. Johnny, you're definitely familiar with that as well. Just like Chris and John and Eric and whatever. So we all kind of came up with nicknames. Like there was, one guy who we just kind of portmanteaued his first or M with his last name and whatever. And my roommate and I were talking about a bit from a comedian. I'm 95% sure there's some Russell Peters joke. If you've ever seen that guy, who was a lot bigger when we were in college.
I haven't, no.
He's like, he doesn't do too much besides comedy. He's Indian, I believe. And like, this is back when like there were barely any, Indian comedians that at least that I had seen that like kind of made it big in America. And he has a very small part in Source Code, where at one point, like, there is a guy that is funny and distracts everyone.
Yeah,
exactly.
Sure.
So he had a bit once about how Fernando was a sexy name or something like that. So I was always like, so me and my roommate were joking about how that's just a cool name. And one day I came back to the room, and there was, those little like name cards that your RAs put up for you, so that everybody knows everybody's names and kind of where they live. And my roommate had crossed out Matt and just written Fernando. So like that was my name forever. And that was my like name in college, pretty much everywhere. I had that email, nando@stevens.edu. It was what some teachers mainly knew me as. So it kind of just stuck. It's not like an intentional, kind of fake name. It was just like what, just what some people called me. And then when I started making my channel, I asked a couple friends, I was like, what should I call this? Because my Twitter is like Nation of Nando. So for a second, I was like, oh, maybe I'll do that. And
wait. So you have a second.
Yeah. In my early videos, people, before I came up with @Nando V Movies, that's what I tag it with, like my hello video. And pretty much everyone before that ends with like, follow me on @Nando V Movie or Nation of Nando, which, is a bummer because like some of those are my most watched videos. But yeah, one of my friends was just like, you should call it this, kind of like Batman v Superman. And I was like, oh, it's not bad. And that's kind of where we are.
So I was going to make a chirp at you for, Nando V Movies, Dawn of Video Essays or some shit.
Yep. Yeah. It's like, it's one of the first, well, it's not one of the first videos I talked about, but one of my first like small change videos. I think it's like the second or third one, if you count the Sharon Carter one as one. And yeah, I find that movie fascinating. It is one of the, like, not like strange in terms of like bad. It's definitely, not an amazing movie, although some people think it is, and that's fine. But just like the way kind of it came together and there's so much going on in it. I mean, like, I'll take that over Justice League any day, where you give me a weird movie that I don't really like instead of like a boring movie that is fine.
Sure. But yeah, that's awesome, man. So you know, I was hoping that, like, so I'm not a guy who likes BVS or any of those fucking DCU movies at all. So I was actually pretty concerned when I brought you on, because like I've done a couple of podcasts with Alex from High Top Films, where basically I've kind of shit all over Zack Snyder's face with some of my commentary. So I didn't want to like have you on here and be like, okay, so, you know, how did you get started in video essays? And you'd be like, oh, actually, Zack Snyder's movie really, like, you know, inspired me. That's why my name of the channel is Nando V Movies. So I'd be like, oh shit, I'm gonna brutally offend this guy. So
yeah, no, I have a very, like, not like complicated opinion when it comes to the Zack Snyder movies, but it really isn't like, there's no blanket opinion. Like, not like even the Zack Snyder, just the DCE movies, but like, you know, Man of Steel is fine, and like, you know, parts of it are really good, and I feel bad because it seems like a lot of it was just like people complained about stuff from Superman Returns, like he doesn't punch anybody and he doesn't really look like Superman, and then they just did all of those things that everyone, not like everybody hates it, but it wasn't a huge success. Batman v Superman is weird. I hate Suicide Squad, and what's the other one? Oh yeah, and Justice League is
weird.
Just fine.
It's just like it feels like it's a Frankenstein-esque movie where it's like, you know, you can tell those fucking conflicting tones in the movie were not intentional. It's because basically they had two directors basically doing the final product. So the final edit literally felt like they just took like the dead bodies of two movies and just stitched them together. Like, it was just a very strange experience.
And like, yeah, I think, and I mean, the one thing I think that's so interesting about Justice League that I've heard people, oh yeah, and someone put in the comments Wonder Woman. I've like Wonder Woman, I've talked about it a little bit because I did those 2 videos on it, but like, I think it's a pretty good movie that kind of falls apart at the end. And
Wonder Woman, you mean?
Yeah, just Wonder Woman.
For
because
sure.
I realized I was like, oh, these are the 4 DCEU movies, and I completely left that out, even though it's objectively the best one. But Justice League is weird because I've heard people say that, and I think they had all of the excuses in the world to just release that movie like 4 months later and like fix it up and just get the mustache stuff right. Like, even just if they spent like 3 months on that and it looked good by the time it was done, that would have been a big like game changer for me. But I've heard that the DC executives, and this is like a rumor, but they want, like, if Justice League came out, it would probably gross enough money that it wouldn't be a huge success, but it would put them over some level of like earnings for the year where they would get their bonuses for that year. So they were like, no, we're putting Justice League out in November of 2017, no matter what. Like, we're not doing, you know, we're not going to take our time with this. We want this out now. I don't know if that's true or not, but it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, like, it was clear that, like, you know, they were just desperate to get it out, and then, you know, obviously, like, cash is the thing that really pisses me off about the whole Justice League thing is, like, you know, as someone who is a massive fan of all those comics, like, the fact that character study and, like, you know, a accurate representation of the characters that, like, people have come to know and love wasn't a defining factor for, like, how the movie was released and basically how the movie was written. That really kind of pissed me off because, like, those characters, they're not just like superheroes, they are some of the most iconic. And I said it in one of my other podcasts with Alex from High Top. Like, basically, I was a guy who I loved the Marvel plots when I was a little kid, when I was like a late bloomer, so to speak. But I always latched onto DC characters more than I did for Marvel characters, even though like the plots of Marvel were a little bit more interesting to me. And so the fact that, like, they're not taking character into account when they're doing all these things, or maybe not even taking into account, but like they're basically like they're bastardizing the character and they're not earning the moments that are in the film, really kind of soured it for me. And like, you know, movies like Man of Steel, like, it's still a film and you can watch it, and it's not like, you know, completely like I'm trying to think of a good word here, but like it's still watchable and somewhat competent. Like, it's still a film, but like it's such a bastardization of what makes, you know, Superman and all of his characters special, where that really kind of like sells it down the river for me, to be honest with you. But
I completely agree. I think Man of Steel is like 80 to 85% of a pretty good movie. I don't think Henry Cavill is necessarily a terrible Superman, but I don't think Zack Snyder really knows what to do with him. I only think that because, like, I've seen him in other movies, like Man from U.N.C.L.E., and I think he's really good. And he has a career. Like, he's a handsome guy, and I think you can get pretty far, on just being handsome alone. But, like, at a certain point, you have to actually be able to act. I'm pretty sure he can. But I think, Man of Steel is like an 85% good movie, and then that 15% that's bad is just, like, choices that are so specific and weird that they ruin big chunks of the movie inadvertently, like, the lack of kind of a defining Superman philosophy that's passed down from the Kents or whatever, or, the fight in Metropolis being, just like 9/11 again. And it's like stuff like that. It's not like it's the Superman, trait, or like it's not like it's a thing that you'd be like, oh yeah, Superman, his mom and dad tell him not to always save people. But it's like this other thing where at some point someone writing the script was like, what would be cool if we do this instead? And those kind of choices, I feel like, just really, they like stink up the rest of the movie. And it sucks because I think otherwise it's pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, again, like I said this a million times, like my main podcast, my main contributor, Abdallah, and also with Alex from High Top, and also with Armored Penguin. I think he's in the chat as well. What up, Joey? How we doing? Basically, like, I'm totally fine with a different interpretation of the character. Like, maybe they want to, like, have a differing view on what makes the character tick, and as long as it makes sense in the story, that's fine. But you have to earn those moments. You have to earn the fact that, okay, Superman is jaded. Well, why is he jaded? Because everything in the character's history is like he's supposed to be the embodiment of compassion in American and ultimately human life. And so when you have something like that, and also with Batman, like, I'm fully fine with Batman killing people. Well, I shouldn't say fully fine, but like I'm fully okay with like a different take on the character, but you have to earn it in that, and like whatever story you're telling. Like, for example, like in Batman v Superman, like, that really cringy line, like with Jeremy Irons, like, that's how it starts and makes old men cruel. Like, if they had an elongated line of that when Batman responds as, yeah, but they killed Oracle, they killed Robin, like, they killed blah, 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 they killed everybody, like, if you're going to, insinuate that I play by their rules, you're out of your mind. If they had that line in there and then they showed him killing all those people and basically being a guerrilla warfighter, I wouldn't have enjoyed him killing people, because like I'm a purist with Batman, but at least I could have understood where that was coming from. And so, like, when you have those choices that aren't based on anything that's actually in the movie, that just kind of makes it seem like it's a disingenuous take on the character, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think there's definitely something about the way that, like, the way that they did make choices like that didn't ultimately go anywhere interesting, especially with Batman, where he's killing people, and they're, like you're saying, they had it. Like, there was a thing that it was so close that they could have just, made
like
had
two
him
more
say
lines.
that.
And even in the extended version, like, they don't really even touch on that at all. And like, dude, like, if you're gonna have an extended version where, like, it's supposed to be like, oh, the stuff that didn't make it in the theaters and the stuff they really wanted to put in the movie but they couldn't do it for the runtime, that's the perfect fucking time to have something like that. And so when you don't have that, it just seems like the movie is just out of nowhere. And like the fact that they're doing that with characters that are, so iconic, that just kind of upsets me. But I mean, I'm not one of those guys that's like gonna say like, oh, Zack Snyder is like the devil and shit. Like, and I'm also not gonna be one of those guys that's like Zack Snyder is like a complete genius and like everything he does is like intentional, because of course it's not. But like when you have a bastardization of all those elements that like people have come to know and love, if you're going to change them, that's completely fine. Like, but you have to earn those moments. I mean, an example of that I think works better is I don't know if you saw you saw my Thanos video essay, but basically why he's a perfectly written villain. And in the comic books, I mean, again, I'm a fanboy for, all those old Marvel and DC comics. In the comics, he's basically a lover boy for Death. And like he wants to please Death and basically like prove that he's like the ultimate lover for Death, because he's like completely obsessed with her. So instead of having a physical representation of a fucking skeleton woman with big tits like saying like, kill all these people, I need you to kill them for me, in the movie they have him actually be defeated by all of his experiences, and then that's why he thinks that, okay, this is going to save the universe, and basically they have him in love with Death in a completely metaphorical way. Now for people who are like obsessed with Thanos as the comic book character, of course, like they'll be pissed. But like in that instance, like a reimagining of the character really serves the story well. Where if Death was just in the movie as another character, that'd be just kind of silly, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I have not heard from any fan of Marvel Comics yet, and maybe, I'm just in smaller circles missing this, but I haven't heard anyone say, oh, Thanos' motivation was better in the comics, or like they ruined Thanos because they changed his motivation, where, because as long as you do something interesting and as long as you stick a landing, people are pretty okay with making changes. And I think I say that, because I made those 2 videos about how like Ego and Hela changed pretty drastically from what they're usually like in the comics. Ego way more than Hela, and it's like, yeah, but at least Hela people can kind of argue about, but at least like Ego works pretty well and he's an interesting character, so you can't hate it. But I would say even Zack Snyder doing like Watchmen and deciding that the end of Watchmen is different. It's like the same, but instead of the
giant
monster,
squid, yeah,
it's
exactly.
just Dr. Manhattan. Like, as far as choices go, I get it. I don't mind it. And like, I think maybe it even makes the story better. So I think as long as you have a good reason and you execute it well, you could pretty much get away with whatever you want.
Absolutely. You just got to earn those moments as opposed to just shoehorn them in. Yeah.
Yeah. They just want to have whatever Batman blow up a truck full of dudes or whatever.
Dude, and that's what really fucking confused me. Well, not even confusing, it's just pissed me off, to be honest with you. It's like, so they have him do all these things. Why did Lex Luthor survive the movie? Why did the Joker survive the movie? Why did Harley Quinn survive the movie? And like, if they brought in the context of like, okay, after X and X date, when, Robin was killed and Oracle was killed, then he turned bad, then I can understand that. But like, when they have these things that just happen in the movies just for the sake of like either convenience or like a cool action set piece, when they're not motivated by anything in the lore you're presenting, that's just it's hard for me as a comic book fan to really sympathize with that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and it is a shame because it does seem like, I wouldn't say, because I mean, Justice League is a really weird case of like things going wrong. And I mean, obviously, the executives probably it doesn't seem like they had the best interests of the characters in mind. But then there's obviously all the terrible stuff that happened with Zack Snyder and like his family that just made that movie really,
oh, for sure,
just kind of a mess. And in a lot of ways, it wasn't anybody's fault, but that movie really broke the toys so nobody could play with them. Because like, I think it's going to be a really long time before we get another Superman, and Batman, I'm sure we'll find a way to get him back. But like, it's just a bummer because I feel like a lot of people will see Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Justice League and go, you know what? This is proof that you just can't make a Superman movie. Christopher Reeves was the only one, and they'll never be able to put that, lightning back in the bottle. But it's definitely not that simple, and they're not gonna. It's a bummer because that kind of sidelined at least one major character, maybe 2, probably Cyborg 2. I mean, his movie, there's no way that's coming out in the next 2 or 3 years, and then we'll see what happens to Flash, but it doesn't seem like they're prioritizing those characters, at least.
Dude, yeah, absolutely. All right, so I mean, I'm sick to death of talking about Justice League and Batman because it fucking pisses me off, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's like, obviously not pissing off with you, but like, it's just like it's such squandered potential where it could actually be a really fascinating story, but they just really Warner Brothers really got to fucking step their game up. But just going more generally, so I'd love to hear about exactly like how you got into making video essays or film critique, or would you call what you do video essays, or like maybe visual love letters or something pretentious like that?
I usually call them video essays. I really don't like. That's one of the big, not like problems with YouTube, but problems with being someone who, makes YouTube videos, and it's like, even if you don't make money from it, it's a big part of your life. It's so hard to explain what any of it is to people that aren't really tuned into it. So like, I don't know, people don't, it's so unspecific. Do you like work in new media, or like, are you a video editor? So I usually call them video essays, but what did I do? I guess I was just like, I used to, it's a really kind of weird collision of skills that just kind of landed me here. I was a art and technology major in college, so I studied like video editing, and it was something that I was always really interested in. I always like read about films, and even in high school, like made some really terrible videos that just, yeah, I mean, nobody's like high school videos hold up except for like, I guess, geniuses. But yeah, so like I did those things. So that's where the video side came in. I used to and still do write sketch comedy for just different outlets, and just because it's fun, and I've always been interested in writing, so I've been doing that forever. And then that's where the writing stuff comes in. And then I've had a podcast that I've run, like we relaunched it in May with like kind of coinciding with Infinity War, but I've done it for at least 4 years with a really good friend of mine from college. So been doing a lot of like kind of not just audio editing, which is super helpful, but just like kind of talking and explaining points, and having like a bunch of these arguments where if you go back and listen to our Batman v Superman episode or our Suicide Squad episode, just way before I was making these videos, you can hear, kind of the early versions of like me being like, what they should have done with Bizarro, it would have been better for this reason, this reason, this reason. Even like a lot of the time when I'm like, I should make a video on this movie that's been out for a while, I'll go back and listen to the podcast we did about it to see if there was anything I said that was like really salient. But at one point I was just like, even it was pretty, I think it coincides really well with when, back in like 2016, when I started the channel, I just like got laid off from my job. I was a software salesman, and it was fine. And the company just kind of downsized a little bit, and I had a little bit of free time while I was looking for a new job. And I just started making essays about things like arguments I've had with people, or like points I've tried to get across I've never been really good at. And then I just kept making those, and that's kind of been it. I mean, a lot of it in the beginning was just like people were like, oh, this part of Civil War wasn't good, and I would just try to be like, no, here's why it works. And you, especially on like Facebook, you can't make a 2 or 3 paragraph comment with all the information on it. Like that just doesn't work. But you can, like, no one reads it, but you can make a video. And I was like, oh, this is what I do. This is like what I have the skill set for, and people will watch it, and it's fun. And a lot of people like that I liked, and that I just enjoyed watching on YouTube. I was like, I could maybe try to do this. It'd be fun. That's really it. It's super simple. But yeah,
dude, nice, man. I mean, and obviously, like, you had a pretty decent impact on YouTube. I mean, like, I didn't check your sub growth, but like, I mean, you've had like 160,000 subs, something like that. It's pretty crazy. And like I said in the beginning of this, man, like you form your opinions and your arguments and like your factual stuff in a very, very cogent way, and that actually kind of like that spoke to me because a little background on me. Like I'm a chemist, so I'm a PhD student in organic chemistry. So it's kind of a deviation from what I do on a day-to-day basis, like doing videos and video essays and podcasts and stuff. But like to see somebody actually be quite analytical with how they approach, how they would, see a film or interpret it or maybe change something in the film, that was super inspiring for me because I've been doing that since I was a little kid, and like to see somebody actually do that in a video format was very inspiring. And that's exactly what I wanted to do with this channel. So I mean, give you props for that. That's fucking awesome.
I mean, I appreciate it. And a lot of times people will be like, I'm thinking about starting a channel, and I'm always like, yo, do it. Like it's not super easy, but it's like easier than people would think. And also if you make, if you just start making videos and they're not amazing at first, not like yours aren't, but like just in general, as part of the process, it doesn't matter. Like you get better at it. And I think YouTube as a method for just distributing something is way more effective than just writing a blog. So it's, I always tell people like, just do it poorly for a while and then figure it out. But it's fun. And the YouTube community is nice. And like all the people like, met you through this, and a lot of other people that I've met through it have been really, really cool.
They've been great. I mean, like, Alex from High Top and also Joey from Armor Penguin are both in the chat. They've been like really instrumental for like, helping me kind of get my bearings on YouTube and stuff. So, Joey and Alex, what's up, boys? Vonsi also is someone I'm gonna have a podcast with, in a couple weeks, which I'm pretty excited about. And
you know, I'm pumped to actually, you know, like honestly, it's like people like assume that like because you're going on YouTube to try and create some content, you're trying to get money out of it. Like I legitimately have no desire to monetize my content at all, really. It's like I'm doing this just because I love movies and I want to bring a different perspective than I've seen on YouTube to video essays and movie critiques and stuff. And I feel like you know, like with someone like you, it's like you have that subscriber like growth and you have like that clout to kind of throw around. But I feel like with you make your videos in a very genuine way where like you're literally like just trying to help the videos and the movies that you think could be better by your edits and stuff. So it's like your Incredibles 2 video I really liked. It was like you're genuinely like, okay, this is a good movie. I enjoyed it. It was entertaining, well directed, but there's this one thing that I think could be better, and then you make like a cogent argument as to why you think what you think. So like again, like I'll keep sucking your dick for the next like, you know, 45 minutes or so. But yeah, man, like you did a really you did a great job with that. So you know, obviously huge inspiration for me. That's awesome.
I'm really excited about it. Like I love the Incredibles video, and I have like part 2, and I've written like it, and I realized like because I was having trouble with people that, you know, pulling back the curtain. I was going to do this on video, but my camera isn't working. But like I realized because it's just not working in the Skype. It's a really weird situation, but I was able to see what it would look like, and I have a big giant whiteboard with all my stuff on it. It's how I, you know, come up with all my videos, and it's just got the whole thing on it. So if someone like if they could see it, you could just pretty much read the complete flow of what the second Incredibles video is going to be like, which, you know, isn't the worst thing in the world. Like I don't try to keep it a secret or anything, but
yeah.
It would be completely unintentionally spoiling it. But I'm excited for that one. I'm going to do that next. I'm hoping to finish it by the end of this week, although whenever I say that, I don't.
Dude, it's the story of my fucking life, man. It's like,
yeah.
So like I said, I'm a PhD student, so like this is obviously not my full-time job, and like I literally, like, if you look at my Final Cut Pro like library, I have 6 unfinished video essays that I've been doing because like the one thing that I like really struggle with is like I have a great idea for a video and then I just edit like 3 to 4 minutes of it, and then I have another great idea and then I have to go like to work and stuff. So it's like I don't have the time and the gumption to like sit down and bang out like a 10-15 minute video on something that I'm interested in. So like, you know, that's the thing that I've really struggled with like since starting on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, see, like I'm totally the opposite. Like I'll be really into I'll be really into a video and just not even really into it. I'll just be like, you know what? I want to make a video about that's what I've done recently. That's not incredible. I honestly can't even remember what the one I did before that was. I know there was Venom at some point, but like I really want to make a video about Black Panther or whatever, and I'll write it and I'll start working on it, and pretty much I am not ahead of myself by one video. I have ideas, but like I can't write the next one or do anything about the next one until the one that I'm currently working on is done, which is just probably the worst. But like I mean, I'd love it if I could kind of get ahead of the process, but I'm just so I'm just like it's like that, and it would be nice if I could, because I kind of have an idea of like, I'd say I have about 10 videos that I have a very basic idea for what the video itself would be, but and kind of as a way to force myself to actually just finish one. I don't really let myself bother with it until then. But yeah, I honestly think my next one's Incredibles. The one after that might be something a little different, because I've seen a lot of people do videos about their favorite Christmas movie, or like, here's a Christmas movie I love, like Patrick H. Williams, another dude whose stuff I really enjoy. He did a video about why Home Alone is like an excellent Christmas movie for just reasons, and I was like, oh, none of these are my favorite Christmas movie. I'll see if anybody's ever really done a video essay on that, and I honestly couldn't find one, and I really looked. So I might make the why X is the best, or is my favorite Christmas movie of all time, and it's one that I don't think anybody's really even like, I really don't think anybody else thinks it's the best one, but like that's different from mine. But I just feel like I want to put that in the world. It's so important to me for no good reason.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, like unlike you, I have no compunction to fucking not spoil my next Christmas video or whatever. So
I'm going to say it for the podcast as exclusive. My favorite Christmas movie of all time is Just Friends, the one with Ryan Reynolds in a fat suit and Amy Smart. Like that movie, for some reason, I know it's a terrible movie, but like that movie is fucking hilarious, and it's set around Christmas. Like,
oh yeah,
like
that movie is great, and
the thing is, like, I fully hold. I might even turn into like something different. So, people in the chat, please don't steal my video because, like, I'll be very upset. But if you do, it's fine. I get it. It's $1 million idea. Just Friends is the best bad movie of all time, like by far. Like,
yeah,
it's like the script is absolute fucking water trash, but like it is so fucking quotable and it's so iconic. And I see Alex like saying he's gonna steal it, so fuck you, Alex. And I have a I have a fucking infant size YouTube channel next to you, so thank you for that. But
no, I'm totally with you on Just Friends. I think
so funny.
I forget when I found it because it wasn't when it was in studio, or when it was in theaters. I think I just at some point got a DVD of it, and there's a lot of really dumb reasons why I like it, and one of them is that it takes place in New Jersey, and I grew up in New Jersey, and it's not the part of New Jersey where I grew up, but I'm always really sentimental towards New Jersey movies, or even movies like Zoolander that take place for one scene in New Jersey. I'm always like, that's a pretty good movie, and that New Jersey part really stood out for me. But yeah, no, I think that movie's great. What's his name is awesome in it. God, who plays Dusty? Is it? It's not Chris Klein, is it?
Yeah. It's Chris Klein. Yeah, he's fucking hilarious.
He's
in that
so
movie.
Funny. Yeah, and even the brother who. I forget what his name is, but I saw him on something recently, and I was like, that kid, he's so funny. What is he from? And he's from that, and I'm like, what I'm talking about? The one that they fight
exactly.
each other.
He plays the AV geek in The Girl Next Door, and he also plays. He's not an alpha dog, but he's in one of those other movies that was like a. I forget his name, but I know exactly what you're talking about. He's fucking funny as hell, and but the thing about Chris Klein, that opening scene when he literally looks like a fucking cesspool of leprosy, and he plays that song on his fucking guitar, and he's like, "Come on, Dusty."
Yeah, I me and my sister, we haven't we're not the kind of family where we just watch the same movie constantly, but I don't say we think we have a default Christmas movie where every Christmas we all gather around and watch, Elf or whatever. But I think that movie would probably be our default Christmas movie if it wasn't this other movie that I have an unrealistic amount of affection for. And I don't even care. I'll talk about it now because I haven't watched it recently.
There are 10 people in here. Fine, fuck it, do it.
Yeah, whatever. They know. My favorite Christmas movie that isn't a good movie, and I don't think anybody enjoys it. I don't think it's enjoyed as much as it should be today for everything that's special and weird about it, is Jingle All the Way. I have a stupid, unnecessary, it's such a funny, weird, it's a movie that should be, it's made of memes. I don't understand why it hasn't, why, Nick Cage in Vampire's Kiss or whatever it is, where he's just got that crazy face, is everywhere, but the face Arnold Schwarzenegger makes where he's trying to cheer up his son, he puts the karate belt on his face, isn't everywhere, because there's just so much about it that's amazing. At one point in the movie, Arnold Schwarzenegger, I believe, this is why I have to watch it again, sets a baby Jesus head on fire and kicks it out the door at some Christmas carolers. And no one talks about this movie. It's incredible. And it came out in 1996, which means it was in production before Tickle Me Elmo, it came out 2 or 3 years before Furby. It was ahead of its time in how what Christmas kind of would turn into. And it's in 2018, toy collecting and stuff like that has become such a big part of nerd culture that Funko is taking over all the GameStops, that the idea of just a guy trying to going all out trying to get a toy should be so universal to the people that make up Reddit and stuff like that I'm shocked that it's not a bigger movie. And like it's not, I don't think it's Phil Hartman's last movie, but it's one of his last movies, and he's amazing in it. So like I mean this will almost certainly be a video because I love it so much, but I just think it is, you know what, it might be his last. No, he's in Small Soldiers. That's the other one, another terrific movie.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah,
and that came out in '98. He just loves toys. He wants to be in movies about toys.
Yeah, dude.
Give him a script, and he's like, flip me to the page with the toys on it. And you know what? I'll do it. But
dude, all right, man. Phil Hartman was a fucking funny ass actor, man. Like, goddamn,
so funny. And like, if you could, and I don't remember him being as amazing in Small Soldiers. Like, he was good, but I really think like Jingle All the Way is a movie where like anybody could be the creepy smarmy dad next door, but like Phil Hartman being that character, he's just so perfect for it that he elevated that whole movie by just, you know, playing so well to his strengths. And that's what I think is really special about that movie. Like, it made Sinbad work really well because it gave him just everything that he's good at doing, and it was like, do all of that. And then same with Arnold, like it took all of his strengths, his reacting and overacting, and like, you know, just everything that's funny about him, and they put it in one movie. So it's like it uses every part of the buffalo in every actor. Like, it's super, super economical. Eventually I'll make this movie. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to make it, you know, for this Christmas. And unless the Incredibles 2 video really like trips me up like the last Justice League one did, and I keep rewriting it and then re-recording it and rewriting it and re-recording it, then this will, you know, why Jingle All the Way is the best Christmas movie, or whatever it'll be called. So I'm not trying to be too clickbaity with it, but that will be out probably, you know, sometime before Christmas.
Yeah. So something that'd be interesting for that is like, I mean, you were kind of touching the fact that like in 2018, I feel like the sentiment, well, you were saying like the sentiment of Jingle All the Way is actually somewhat relevant because like the whole kid culture and like the nerdgasm culture, basically, you were talking about. It'd be really cool if you went into like the actual, like the formation of like, you know, the historical context leading up to Jingle All the Way. We're like, okay, this came out X amount of years, like, you know, before, after a certain toy, and like, you know, you relate it back to the economics of 2018, do some pretentious ass nerd writer, like fucking like like keyframes and shit. That'd be pretty cool, man. I definitely watch it for sure.
I mean, it's influenced by a lot of stuff. There's the characters in it that are essentially Power Rangers. Like the little villains that he fights are like that, the villains, because the main villain is, I forget his name, Dr. Demento or something, but his like little minions are these red, yellow, and blue and green little dudes that I feel like, you know, we're inspired by the Power Rangers. And you have what was I going to say? Like, I think the movie, the script probably came from...
I'm sorry to cut you off. I think one of your boys that just followed me from the podcast just tweeted that picture of the put the cookie down like, on Twitter to me. It's fucking hilarious.
Oh, yeah. Dude, like, I mean, it's crazy. If you just look at Jingle All the Way in terms of things Arnold Schwarzenegger punches in that movie, and like all of those scenes, it's just insane how... It's because it's even more than Home Alone, I would say, probably the most aggressive Christmas movie. And I know people say Die Hard's a Christmas movie, and like I would say, like, sure, technically it is a Christmas movie. It's my favorite movie, but it's not my favorite Christmas movie because I feel like the Christmassiness of it isn't the most important thing about it.
Yeah,
like, you could set Die Hard on, you know, Arbor Day and it would still be great, but like Jingle All the Way wouldn't make any sense, you know, on another holiday. But yeah, like, it is so violent, and it is so like, and that's what I think is so special about it. All the like character actions and everything that is happening is so extreme that you put that on. And I think that's why Elf works so well too. Just Will Ferrell is doing, you know, everything he's doing it like, you know, 150%, which is just a nice, you know, kind of change of pace from It's a Wonderful Life and Miracle on 34th Street. But that might just be me. We'll see. When I make this video, I'll see how people react to it. But I think I saw Alex is saying that he's a big fan. He watches it every five times a year or something like that. Yeah,
I just saw it. But yeah, man. So if you want to collab, I am fantastic at impressions. If anybody's on a podcast, they can tell you. If you want me to do the fucking Schwarzenegger voice for you, like as a depressed chemist behind his microphone, let me know. But
we will see. I actually got an email from someone today, being like, "Hey, I can do an impression for you," and I think it is so cool. I think what I kind of the way I came down on it was like, if I start doing like actual impressions with effort, people will have opinions on them. But I think I could kind of skate by on just doing the most basic of a voice and having people be cool with that, without it being distracting. But we'll see. But like that's the thing about Jingle All the Way. There's no small change I would make. I would make it more popular. So there's nothing I'd need to react as far as now. I have to rewatch it, and I want to try to find the DVD so I can watch the commentary track, because Arnold Schwarzenegger commentary tracks are amazing. Have you ever listened to any of those?
I haven't, no.
Okay, so there's two that are really good. I know one of them is oh God, what's the name of the movie he does where he has to go to Mars? I always get them confused.
Wait, Schwarzenegger?
Yeah, the one where he like dresses up like an old lady, or with a Total Recall.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, Total Recall. His commentary track is pretty much just Arnold Schwarzenegger describing the movie and what's going on in the movie. Like at the time, like he's just watching the movie and there's a scene and he'll just say like, this scene is really cool. This is the part where I jump from this thing to this thing and shoot this guy. And like, he's just narrating the scene for people that can't see. And it's so funny. He'll say like, this is a great scene because this woman, she's so attractive and she's going to come up to me and talk to me and I'm just going to talk to her. And it's like, wow, she's really attractive. Like but not like in a creepy way, just in like this guy doesn't really get what these are, and it's so funny. Like there's that one, and there's another one that the internet passes around all the time, and I can't remember what the other one is, but yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger's commentary tracks are terrific.
That's I have to look this up after this podcast for sure. Yeah, it sounds fucking hilarious. But yeah, let's look at the chat a little bit before we get into a next topic, which I think people here will be very excited to talk about. A certain video game character is having his own movie soon. Let's see what we got here.
I think someone asked about the Grinch, which I also have really strong opinions on. Like the Jim Carrey Grinch movie.
First of all, what do you think about the Grinch? Like just generally as a film, Jim Carrey, not the original animated.
Jim Carrey one, yeah, I love it.
Same.
I saw it
Thank you.
At the exact right age for it, I think, and it's one of my favorite like Christmas movies. But I don't have any good reasons for that one. I just think Jim Carrey is really funny in it, and I can watch it endlessly. But like, if people don't like Jim Carrey, I totally get how that can be just the most annoying movie on the planet.
Oh, because absolutely! It is by no means a good movie at all. But like, it is just such a. I hate to use this word because it's so fucking cliche. But like, it is so classic. Like, it's like you're absolutely right. I saw it at the perfect age where literally like I could latch onto any piece of media and like that would be like, you know, my definitive X movie. And like the whole Jim Carrey Grinch, like people shit on it, but honestly, like I have a fucking great time whenever I watch that movie. Like, you know, no matter what mood I'm in, I literally, you can't. This is the thing that people like that hate the movie don't get enough credit for. You can't watch that movie and not at least crack a small smile with some of the fucking stupid things that Jim Carrey says. Like you can't.
Oh my God.
Like, it's impossible.
I mean, right up there with like Just Friends this is probably, and I think as far as a family Christmas movie go, that me and my family would sit down and watch. Like me and my sister have watched The Grinch, and like one of my cousins have watched it like 100 times, and it's so quotable. And I think it doesn't get enough credit for being like, because I haven't seen the new one because it's by the Minions guys, and I'm sure it's like very Minionsy. I'm sure he dances at some point or whatever. But the bits where it's like the bits where it's like they had to add stuff to make this a movie instead of just like a 20-minute long, you know, short cartoon like it used to be, or like a book that's like 10 pages long. It's like pretty good, and I honestly think it's as good as you can, as good of a story as you can make with that. Just like have Cindy be more active and write a backstory with the mayor and just all the stuff that's in there. Have the Grinch be the king of Christmas for a day. And like I always say, and
Santa,
this is
bye.
my family, the single line that sticks out with us is they're doing like the Christmas, like the whatever it is, I forget what he is named, but like the Christmas King Festival.
The holiday cheermeister. Yeah.
Yes, that's it. Yes, exactly. They're doing that, and it's like a really quick montage of people, throwing him up on a chair and whatever, and they're like all feeding him pudding because the pudding judge, he's the judge of the pudding contest, and one guy after we've served him a lot of pudding and he's reacted, puts puts them up to his face and he says, "This is not pudding," and then he gives it to him.
What the hell is it?
He's got a mouthful of pudding. It's so funny to me, and I'll never understand. I'll understand why people don't like it, because maybe they just don't like Jim Carrey, and I get it. I don't think everybody that everybody else thinks is funny is funny. It's super personal. But I also think there's just people that grew up with the old one and are just like, this is the perfect interpretation of this, and anything that changes it, which probably not the best way to be not the best way to be a film critic, but I totally understand when nostalgia overrides
quality.
Yeah, and maybe it's me. Maybe I just love that movie so much from childhood, and I'll never understand how bad it is. There's movies
Dude,
my favorite.
Perfect example of that. Remember the Three Ninjas movies?
Yeah, I've kind of seen them, but I've never fully watched them.
Oh my God. Three Ninjas, High Unit, Mega Mountain. Honestly, that movie, I watch it today and I know it's trash. It's the worst movie I've ever seen. It's literally a cinematic abortion. But for some reason, I don't know if it's because I latched onto it when I was a kid or because I just find it so cheesy that it's brilliant. But for some reason, that movie is just that just hits for me, man. It just fucking slaps, and I have no idea why, and I wish it didn't.
Yeah, I think it's I think there's just some movies that made you they're just you grew up with and are just a part of your DNA, and you never will be able to not like. But there's movies that people don't like that I like, and I really I can commit to being this is a good movie, and there are reasons why you don't like it, and you're not wrong to not like it, but it is good. And then there's movies like The Grinch where I'm I love it so much I could be wrong about this at every level.
But fuck it, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I still love it. I'm still gonna watch it. I won't tie people to a chair and make them watch it, but I do love it. Also, I saw a fun question in the chat. Did you see this? It was worst Batman costume.
Yeah, I already answered that. The light up costume at the end of fucking Batman Forever is atrocious. And honestly, people always jump to the Batman and Robin buns and nipples fucking costume, but the Batman Forever one really just makes me want to shove a knife into my face.
I can't remember the light up costume. You mean the one with the light up eyes? Or is it?
No. That's the Dark Knight. The Batman Forever is it's right before the final fucking the scene between the Riddler and Two-Face. They go to the hideout and it's the major fight and stuff, and it's it glows and shit. It sucks. It's the worst. It's chrome. It looks like a Mercedes-Benz sponsored fucking Batman suit. I hate that suit. I'm curious to hear what yours is though.
And no one is gonna like this, and I don't really care.
Do it.
I love the Batman Begins suit, and I really don't like the Dark Knight suit.
Yeah,
and I don't like the plated
I feel that because
armor.
I feel like the cowl is so classic in Batman Begins, where if it feels like it's literally just like a head strapped to a piece of wood, in the Dark Knight, where it's all the pieces are separate. It looks cool, but it doesn't seem like Batman to me.
I think the problem with the Dark Knight suit for me, and I would imagine the Dark Knight Rises suit, but I don't really have. I watched the Dark Knight very recently, so I think I have this one down. And the reason that I think the Batman Begins suit works so much better is I don't think there's a point in the movie where the Batman Begins suit is photographed in complete light. You never see it fully, or it's always kind of obscure. So
Yeah.
The problem comes in when you put the like Batman in a in the interrogation room and you turn on the fluorescent lights and it just looks kind of silly.
Oh yeah.
Like I think, I mean, it should never, Batman should never be, you know, in the light. Cause I mean, eventually, you know, he's going to have to, but, yeah, I think the simpler your Batman suit is, the better. And I feel like that suit was always kind of something that, like, I think the Batman Begins suit is so good, and I kind of think Christopher Nolan or Warner Brothers was like, well, we have to fix it. Like, something's wrong with it, and we don't know what it is. So, like, let's make it more agile so we could turn his head on his motorcycle. And like, I can't quite put my finger on it, but I mean, I think the one from, you know, Batman v Superman especially at the end when he's like in the warehouse is pretty much perfect. I think that logo is a little much. That big fat like bat, I think is like kind of like, okay, what are you doing with this logo? Like, I get maybe putting a logo on, but like, who's your publicist, Batman? Like, how many people are gonna see this? Where
like it looks like the bat like didn't go to Weight Watchers for a couple weeks, and like only like the ears and like the little like pincers on the wing stuck out, where it's like honestly, if the Dark Knight Batman logo was on the BVS suit, I think it would be a perfect suit, to be honest with you. Like, it's like like the cowl, it blends into the shoulders, so it looks a lot like the animated version. It looks more rugged, and it looks almost like kind of like tattered and not cloth, but like almost like mesh in a way. Yes. I love that suit, even though I fucking hate the choices that Zack Snyder made for fucking that character, but I do love the suit aesthetically. I think it looks beautiful.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, I think that's one thing that they do pretty well in that DCEU, which, not to get back to the DCEU again, but I think most of the costumes are pretty good. The problem is the ones that are bad are just like atrocious, completely terrible, like the Joker. But like, I think in that movie, like the Harley Quinn's good, and I think the Captain Boomerang is like a really good interpretation of his old stuff, like, you know, big giant coat, and you know, he has the skull cap that he wears a little bit, but you know, kind of modernizing it. I think they got a lot of that right. But then and like the Wonder Woman costume is terrific. It's might be the best part of that movie. Like, that costume is just the best way to translate that to film. And that's a tricky costume. I was never sure what they would do with Wonder Woman, but like, yeah, I think the Batman one, and I don't even mind the Superman one. I wish they would have committed to the underwear, like putting that red underwear on him, but you know, I think
or at least making the red of the costume a little more flashy if they're not going to do the underwear thing, like, because like it just looks like he's wearing like a fucking like blue unitard to go like to a scuba diving class or something like that. Yeah, like if they committed to like having the reds be a little more vibrant, so like it actually looked like the kind of like dichotomous tone between blue and red in the classic costume. I'm not so so upset about like, the red underwear and stuff, but like I do agree that like there could have been a little more contrast in that costume, because like he just seems like a guy doing gymnastics or some shit in the leotard.
Right. Yeah, and it, like, I didn't mind the texture of it either. It had an interesting like texture to it, and I think if you zoom in, like, it's got like a little S imprints or something. There's like some sort of stamp that goes all the way through it, which is kind of cool. I've always kind of I would say like my biggest complaint about Superman in the DCEU is that he doesn't have red underwear, because I think that's really emblematic of like the problems with how they wrote him. It's like there's a
so serious
executive somewhere who's like, you know what, we can't make this red underwear cool, let's just not do it. And I think if you can't make the red underwear cool, you're gonna have a real problem with like the earnest character of Superman too.
True, that's true.
So like, if you're throwing out the easy stuff, you're gonna throw out the hard stuff immediately. So like, you know, Brandon Routh had his Superman had a lot of problems, but his costume had the silly underwear and like, you know, the S and stuff, and he had that kind of earnest vibe. So like, I feel like you can go all in on that costume. You can have people in the movie make fun of it, and then you have Superman just knock everybody's socks off with some amazing spectacle, and then everybody's like, oh, never mind, costume's cool, people buy into it immediately, kind of like the best Superman movie ever, Hercules by Disney. Hercules shows up and he's like, I'm Hercules, and everyone's like, what a loser. And then he saves them all from the Hydra, and they're like, Hercules is cool, like, we were wrong, and let's never bring it up again, and then you're fine. Nobody complains.
I actually like that idea a lot because, like, I mean, I'm Greek, so I have a really soft spot for Hercules. I've always thought that, like, that tone, I mean, sans the fucking, you know, musical and stuff, would be perfect for a superhero because, like, it's so endearing, and also, like, the emotions hit you when it actually really counts. But switching gears here a little bit, I'd love to talk about Sonic with you.
Okay. Let
me preface here. I have no, and I repeat, no real link to the Sonic character. I played maybe one of the games. I was never really a Sega guy back in the day. And honestly, like, I have no endearing, you know, traits to the character whatsoever, to be honest with you. I know that he's like super fucking, it's like super iconic and stuff. But yeah, I'm just not a big fan. But yeah, so do you have any, like, I guess, you know, any compunction for the character at all?
We're talking about Sonic's the one who does Olympics against Mario, right? Just kidding. I mean, he does. I've never played that game.
Even I know that. Come on.
Yeah, I played. I mean, I've been around for a little longer. I remember having pretty much all the Sonic games on, like, the Game Gear or whatever Sega's very uncompetitive version of the Game Boy was for a little bit. I didn't play any of the recent ones past Sonic Adventure, which is the one everyone loves, and I played it on the GameCube, and I feel like it was named something different, but that's the one where it got that, like, moving around at the speed of sound. That song is, you know, to play every 5 minutes. And I had watched some of the cartoons too at one point, and I remember really enjoying them. Besides that, I don't have any real affinity for, not like affinity, because I've read a book called, it might be Console Wars, which is like a book about the history of gaming. I think that's what it's called. And, like, the history of how Sega and Nintendo both kind of came up, and Sonic's like an insane, huge part of that. And it's like, he's really just like he's an interesting kind of flagship character. But I just, like, I don't know how I feel about this cartoon, like, or how this CGI poster guy. I mean, I think I've read in an interview that Sega is not happy with the eyes, and I think there's a reason why he's in shadow, is because if they like showed the eyes, everyone would get all,
they'll get flamed.
really angry. Yeah, and so somebody posted on my Twitter kind of like, if you like throw the saturation up to like 1,000,000 or something, you can kind of see where the eyes might be, and it is like, they are little beady eyes, and I'm quite worried about it. But I don't know, like, I keep using this as an example in my head, is like, well, Detective Pikachu looked kind of stupid, but also it works in motion, and it was a funny little trailer, so, like, maybe it could work. I don't know. Like, I want it to work because they've made like 1,000,000 video game movies and they're all bad. But I don't know. Do you? What are your? I don't mind his calves. Like, I think his calves are fine. Like, I don't know. It's not as, I don't have it as extreme a reaction as I think a lot of people have. I totally get it. But, like,
yeah, so here's my thing. So, number one, I can see where the eyes would be. Like, you know, obviously, like, the profile shot, you can see the green pupil, which is like kind of like iconic for Sonic, I imagine. Like, you know,
right.
his eyes are green. And, like, if you duplicate that twice, like, he looks kind of like a crackhead, to be honest with you. But, like, I mean, whatever. Like, this is taking a guy who can run at light speed and a hedgehog who wears big ass, like, red shoes and white gloves. Like, so, like, you know, taking the aspect ratio and trying to make it into something that makes sense. Like, I understand it's a tough thing to do. My issue is like from the impression that I get from this thing, they don't really understand exactly what they're trying to go for. Are they trying to go for the realism? Are they trying to go for the cartoon aspect of it? Because like they have like, you know, like the puckered up ears and the spikes that are like, you know, instead of like, you know, quills and shit, it's just 3 big ass quills on his back that are big like spikes basically. And then they have like the weird almost like Grinch like Whoville nose on it. But then they have like almost hyper realistic forearms and like the knee to like calf like separation like you would see on a real person. And then they have like almost like Nike Shock looking shoes instead of like those massive ass like trapezoid looking shoes that Sonic would wear. So like they don't like from this just one image alone. I mean, obviously I haven't seen anything, so I don't want to make judgments on it, but coming from this, like from a third party, it seems that they don't know whether to be truthful to how Sonic actually looks or if they want to actually make it somewhat grounded and realistic. And when you have a character that's so silly like Sonic, that's kind of an issue. And also another thing is, like I like, you know, and so I host the Secret Podcast every Monday if you want to check that out. But like basically we were talking, and a kid named Chris, who's one of the hosts on the show, said that essentially the white gloves are more or less like a staple of Sonic that have been there since like he was, you know, just, you know, first incepted into Sega, and they don't seem like they're there. It's just like hands. So it's like, so you have hands that have 5 fingers, you have Nike Shock shoes, you have, you know, calves and knees and like forearms that look like realistic, but then you have this really cartoony head with these beady ass eyes. It just seems like it's not gonna work. Like just too many conflicting fucking things in that thing.
Yeah, I'd say like it's weird. I mean, from what I understand, because I have a lot of friends who are like huge Sonic fans and they play all the games, is that like half the Sonic games are pretty good and then the other half are just like terrible. So as far as just like a mark of quality for a character, like if you were making a Zelda movie, for instance, and you were like Nintendo has hired whoever is making this, which I feel like I should know who this is, but whatever company is producing this, I'm like, they're going to make a Zelda movie. I'd be like, well, okay, they've got a lot of good stories and Zelda usually works. They don't have to reinvent the wheel. But with Sonic, it's like, so many of the games aren't good. And then even when you get into the good games, you got problems like Sonic Adventure, the one where, like I said, the one where they sing that song that came out in like the 2000s, like there's storylines where like Shadow the Hedgehog, who's like evil radical 2000s Sonic, is like in love with a human woman, and it's really awkward and it wouldn't translate well to a movie. So like I don't even like I would say the fact that they can't, that like I would say the big problem with Sonic, and this kind of goes back to some of our talks about the DCEU because it's the most interesting thing in the world, is like the problem with Sonic is, and it's a live action movie, right? He's like a CGI hedgehog. So like you have to pitch that. There's no way an executive is just, or like someone, or a writer or producer, it's like, what kind of Sonic movie we're making? It's like, oh, we're going to make a live action one where he interacts with people, and everyone's like, oh, okay, yeah. There should be something else attached to that someone says like, well, why? He's not in live action. This isn't like Tomb Raider. Why would he be in live action? And someone would be like, well, it's because we figured that the character just looks so great in live action, or like we have this cool new technology for making him run fast that's going to look really cool, or like we have James Marsden's face and we just have to use that. Whatever it is, I feel like that should come with this kind of like, we have a live action Sonic movie, and I know that sounds weird, but here's why it's good. And I feel like we haven't gotten that yet, which is really why like I'm a little worried about it, is because it could work as CGI. It's not necessarily going to work better as like a, you know, Wreck-It Ralph kind of movie. But if they just did that, I would be like, okay, that's what you would expect because that's what the character is. But when you take it out of that, I feel like you have to get a good reason. I just haven't heard anything besides just like, this is what it is. We've decided to make him like a little Woody Woodpecker guy. But again, Detective Pikachu, if you showed me just one picture of Pikachu before you showed me that trailer, I'd be like, this is the scariest thing ever. This is going to be a terrible movie. Like, what were you thinking? And then they'd show it to you and you'd be like, oh, never mind. This is hilarious. And like same with Superman, like, oh, this, this looks really weird. And then if in the movie for like 10 seconds, they talk about how weird he looks, and then the movie is awesome and you forget about it, then like it's fine. I mean, I would say I really want this movie to work, not because I care any about Sonic, and partially like House was saying, it's Jim Carrey as Eggman or Robotnik, depending on which game you played, but like the big boss with the giant mustache.
Yeah.
I feel like I saw a picture of it and I don't remember being like, oh yeah, that's hit, but whatever. I'm happy that he's back. But the dude that's playing Sonic is Ben Schwartz, who I absolutely love. He's the funniest, like one of the funniest working actors. He's the best improver from, if people don't recognize him, he's John Ralphio from Parks and Rec.
Yeah, Parks and Rec. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, so like I really just want this to succeed because I want him to be like a giant megastar. And I think like maybe if they're like, you know what, just do whatever you want, Ben Schwartz, and we'll animate that, it could be really cool. The same way that like Ryan Reynolds works well, because the movie is just going with his charisma, and like I don't know. I feel like I should reserve judgment at least till I see his face, but I totally understand why people are like, this doesn't look great. Like if he looks really photorealistic, like with these legs and stuff, I feel like he's got to be wearing pants, right? Like a little pair of shorts or something.
Yeah.
Or if he's not, then I think that's weird too. I don't know. I really, I don't know. It's from the producers of The Fast and the Furious. It could be great. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the thing is like, when you have producers like that in the film, that basically the logic of the fucking Fast and the Furious movies, it's a cartoon. And so it's like when you have those people that are like interested in not realism, but just basically like, trying to, I don't know, I guess have some kind of realism, but also have it be, entertaining and fun. That's fine, but like when you have those things that are like somewhat realistic in the character, like it's kind of fucking jarring to me, to be honest with you. And I don't know how it's gonna work, but again, I have no fucking attachment to Sonic as a character, so I really don't care what they do. I'm just kind of interested to see how it goes, because like, I mean, there are a lot of fanboys that are super triggered by this, so I'm just interested to see how it happens and how it looks in 60 frames per second, I guess.
Yeah, like I feel like it'll be cool. It's a thing. Like they're not just taking one of the Sonic games and just doing that. Like they're doing something new. So like maybe they do have a really cool, like interesting take or idea that's gonna be amazing, and we just haven't seen it yet. But like I also don't really care all that much about Sonic, even though like I played all those games when I was younger. I just like, I don't know, there's nothing about him, like there's, trying to think, well, okay, this is a question. So like, which video game character do you think should be in a movie? Like, is there anybody that you're like, this would be perfect, and if I heard that they were making this movie, I would be incredibly protective, kind of the same way people are with Sonic right now?
I mean, I don't know if I'd be protective, because I know that like video game interpretations are basically like doomed to fail. I think that if there's anyone that would actually work well as like an episodic film, I'd probably say like Nathan Drake from the Uncharted series. I think that he would probably be a decent like go at like a plot driven video game based movie rather. But granted, I'm not saying that I want him in a movie, because like I know that those movies would be probably dog shit, because I mean, we saw what happened with Assassin's Creed. We've seen what happened with like a bunch of different franchises that have been on film. Yeah,
which is like they're the best ones, and they're not very good.
Yeah. Now, I will say the Alicia Vikander Tomb Raider, I don't think it's a terrible film. I think that it's like, like those things that are so iconic, I think they deserve a little more credit than just being like a movie of the week in the summer. Like, and so like, I know for a fact that if they try to bring Nathan Drake to the screen, unless they actually had a director that actually is endeared towards that character, it's probably gonna be pretty bad. So I don't really necessarily want or even care if any video game characters that I enjoy are on there. Yeah, how about you?
I don't know. Yeah, I like, if you asked me 10 years ago, I would say Master Chief, because I used to play a lot of Halo, but ever since I've just gotten tired of, like, not like tired of him, but just like I don't really have if they made a Halo movie, that would be fine. But if they didn't, that's fine too.
I'm sorry to cut you off. Alex from High Top put in the chat, just adapt the Arkham games into a movie, get Paul Dini, and let the franchise fix itself. I think that's a really interesting idea because honestly, like I've said up and down that the Arkham games are the most cinematic games that have probably been in existence, with the exception of like Last of Us, which I don't want The Last of Us to ever be made into a video game because like just don't touch it because it was so good as a game, and don't ruin it with a shitty movie. But the Arkham series I feel like would be really interesting to see like in a film setting, like Arkham City, and like having the interpretation of the Joker and Batman. That'd be really awesome. But the only thing I'd miss is like, you know, Kevin Conroy obviously isn't like a jacked 6'5" dude. Like he's, you know, pretty scraggly to be honest with you. So like I would miss his voice like in that role, if it makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when, I mean, they've, next to James Bond, I feel like the most fan-casted character in history is Batman. So like there have been so many people that have pitched a Batman, and I'm like, oh yeah, like about half of these would work. Like, I mean, Josh Brolin's always been the one that I'm like, yeah, if we wanted to make a movie about an older Batman, he'd probably be great at it. Or, you know, people have said John Hamm. I don't know as much about him just because I don't know. I've never seen him do something where he's like really, really, I don't know what it is, but I don't know if he could, like, I don't know if he could hold a movie by himself, but like, yeah, I think taking the Arkham movies would be fine, and or the Arkham, even just taking like Arkham, whatever the first one was, Arkham Asylum. I mean, yeah, that would be fine. I mean, one of my favorite game stories is Arkham Origins, which is the bad one. Although I never played Arkham Knight, but I didn't hear it was all that special. But like that story's pretty good. I love Black Mask, Origin of the Joker.
Yeah,
different assassins, like colorful characters, the Electrocutioner getting punched and knocked out immediately, like that works pretty well.
I'd agree. Yeah,
I would say if there's one character that I'm like, I see, I have no protection over him, but like make a God of War movie, it would be the most cinematic thing on earth. Like there's so many actors that are just begging to be Kratos, like, and they'd all be terrible at it, like Jason Statham or whatever. But I'm sure there's one that would work.
No, not Jason Statham, no way. But like,
yeah,
oh god, okay, we need to talk about God of War because, like, I haven't found a guy who can fanboy about God of War with me. What do you think about PS4 God of War?
So I haven't played it because I have the only video game I play these days is, well, okay, so here's no, I don't even really have a good excuse. I played the Spider-Man game, I loved it, but I really think like making videos has just taken over my life in a way that is cool because I love it and I'm very happy to do it. But yeah, it's just been, you know, it's just been a lot of time, which is like kind of a bummer because I hear this is great and I haven't played Red Dead either, although I've heard mixed things about how great Red Dead Redemption is.
Like, here's the thing. It is like I've only played a little bit of it. I just started a couple days ago. And like it's a beautiful, beautiful game. Like the visuals, the rendering, the fucking like the voice acting is great. Like I love the mechanics of the game, but it feels like Wild West Simulator 6 as opposed to like a video game. It's like it is so realistic to the point where it's not even that fun. Where it's like, for example, every time you get off your horse, you have to re-equip your weapons. So it's like I want to go back to my horse and just get my weapons, but every time I get off my horse, I have to get my weapons back. And so obviously you can't have a fucking a massive ass shotgun on your person while you're in a horse because it's gonna fall off your back. But it's like shit like that, like the expeditious nature of video games, I feel like would really help that game if they kind of like cut some of the corners with like, okay, you know, if you don't wash your horse, then it's gonna go just as fast as if it would if you didn't wash your horse, or like if you didn't shower, then you wouldn't be mauled by fucking panthers and cougars in the mountains and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful put together game. But like for me, God of War is just the game of the year. Like that game is, with the exception of like some of the boss fights just being repetitious, like a big troll. Basically, I won't spoil the game, but basically, like there are 3 or 4 boss fights in God of War PS4 that are legitimately the best boss fights that have ever been put in a video game. Like I don't know if you saw like on a stream, like The Stranger. Have you heard of that? The boss fight.
I've seen bits and pieces like of streams, but I have tried to stay relatively
right.
like keep it at an arm's length because I think I will play it eventually.
Definitely play it and know nothing about the story. Basically, there's this one boss fight that comes fairly early in the game, and literally, like, I was enjoying the game just fine until then. But like when I was playing that boss fight, I took a step back and I was like, holy shit, this is a special, amazing game. Like up until that point, I was just in love with it. And so like the only issue that I really see about like God of War is just like the repetitious boss fights, like, you know, over and over again. Like when it's not like, you know, a god, which of course it's the first game, so there aren't that many momentous occasions for bosses, but the ones that do hit are amazing. You know, it's like a troll with a rock or another gnome or some shit, which is fine. But like the game and the story, like if you read the synopsis of the story, it looks so simple. Like it like honestly, you could sum up the story in 2 lines of dialogue. And just the way it's emotionally put on the screen is just amazing. And you would never, ever think that something like that would happen with a God of War game. Because it's like you're literally swinging around fucking chains attached to swords and shit in the original game, which I love. But this one, like, they really make a extra effort to make it extra cinematic. And, like, you probably read reviews about it and stuff. The entire game plays almost like Birdman, like, you know, the movie Michael Keaton. Which I mean, I mean that's one of my favorite movies of all time. But like just you have to play it. It's incredible.
I definitely will, and I have a couple friends that have it, and I'm pretty sure they finished with it, so I might just borrow it from them. But yeah, I've really like kind of not like been biding my time, but I'm like, okay, I'm gonna play Spider-Man for sure, and I play like Overwatch all the time, just as kind of like a competitive fun thing because like. Now that I do this all the time, I don't really get out of the house as much. So I'm like, I need to talk to other human beings. But like, I mean, I really do want to play it. And I think even just God of War 1 or 2 would definitely translate into an amazing game, or amazing video, like movie. Some people have suggested, I actually looked this up online, Jason Momoa as Kratos, Jimon Hansu, David Wenham, everyone knows from Iron Fist, the really cool dad that's great in Iron Fist. Like people have suggested, what's his name? Christopher Judge, who's actually him in the game, like does the voice of him.
His voice is unreal.
I've heard that part, and I've heard him speak, and he's an insane voice. And then the other one on this website that I'm not positive, like I'm not completely bought into, is John Barenthal. Like maybe he's definitely got the toughness and like the I've seen everything kind of vibe of Kratos, but
yeah,
I don't know if I feel like you really do have to kind of be like a big giant muscle man to pull it off, and that's why I mean
the physicality for sure has to be there.
Awesome. Yeah, maybe if Aquaman hits big and it made like 90 million in China this weekend or something crazy like that, then maybe like he'll be able to just pick, you know, kind of a star vehicle, and that would be the perfect one for him, because I would love to see that. They just have to cut off all his hair, which would be a real bummer. But
yeah, for sure.
You gotta make sacrifices.
Exactly, you gotta do the people, man. But yeah, I think Kratos would be a great addition to cinematic escapades if they do it well, because like I love the original God of War games, but like, you know, this God of War installment really endeared me to Kratos in a really emotional way. And I won't spoil it. Just play the game and then just hit me back on Twitter, like what you think. But
I will. It will definitely happen eventually. And like, there's just so much about God of War that is kind of similar to other movies, like Gladiator, I would say is like the big one, but like
for sure,
it would translate so easily if you just took the most basic storyline, like, and just loaded it up with amazing visuals, put, you know, $150-200 million in it, and get the guys who like give it to like Guillermo del Toro and take it in a Pacific Rim kind of direction, make a little bit of a more interesting story, but just really go crazy on the visuals. And I think it would be amazing. Like, I think it could rock. But I will play God of War, the new one, and I will report back, because now, I mean, I'm finished with Spider-Man, although I haven't gone through the DLC yet. I know there's 2 out of 3 out, I think. But I think I'm just going to do that in one go too. So I do have a little bit of free time, although I'm still trying to like catch up on a million other shows that I've been slacking on. It's only so many hours in a day. Someone asked, I think this is an interesting question. Are we playing Super Smash Brothers? Do you play that game?
So I'm a massive Smash nut, but
okay.
I've not picked it up yet, to be honest with you. So I've heard a lot about the game from the podcast that I host. All the three hosts, besides me, are playing it relentlessly. Once I'm home for Christmas break, though, I mean, I'm going home in like a week and a half for like 4 or 5 days. So I'll definitely play it then. But yeah, do you have it?
I do not. I do not have a Switch because the Zelda game's supposed to be great and the Mario game's supposed to be great, but besides that, like, I need more than 2 games to sell a console to me. So maybe Smash will be the one that does it. But I played it at a dude's house this weekend, and it's pretty good, except he had 4. We wanted to play 4 people, but he only had 2 controllers, so we had to split it into 4 Joy-Cons.
Oh, I
which
see.
is just the worst way to play Super Smash Brothers. I never played it with the Wiimote and the nunchuck, whatever it was, but I have a feeling that's better than this because it's this teeny tiny thing, and I don't know what buttons you press that actually make you taunt, but just every other punch was a taunt, and it seems fun, and the mechanics seem great. I'd love to take it out for a spin on classic GameCube controller, which I have at least one here that's kind of. I mean, I don't know if you can even. I know they're always so weird about what kind of controllers work and don't work, but even on a pro controller, I'm sure it would be great. And I played some of the new characters. The squid is really confusing. King K. Rool is a lot of fun, and those are the only 2 actually new characters that I played. We unlocked Simon literally right as I left, which was kind of a bummer. But yeah, no, I love Smash too. That used to be my jam. So I will have to buy it eventually, probably.
Yeah, I agree, and people disagree with me about this, but I think Meta Knight is the coolest character in Super Smash. Don't at me.
I see. He's not one of the ones I really played too much of. I like your more. I don't know. I don't even know who is my Smash brain. It changes all the time. When we were playing the other day, I was really digging Little Mac. I kind of remembered why I think he's so much fun. Is he's really fast, and I like characters like. Little Mac's a good example of one where you can get a really big, exciting moment out of them. And with him, it's the KO punch. When you land one of those, it's just really satisfying. I would say Jigglypuff's the other one where if you nail the rest move and you blow somebody up, it's the coolest thing ever. But yeah, I mean, Meta Knight's probably fine. There's only 2 characters or 3 characters in there that I've never touched. And it's just I've never had much luck with Zero Suit Samus or whoever, but otherwise, sure. That's a great thing about the game. You can just play it endlessly forever because just all the characters are pretty good and fun, and they all work.
Yeah, for sure. All right, and so we've been talking for 90 minutes, so we can end this on this last topic here. But I'm actually interested to hear what you have to say because this is how we got into contact in the first place. So I made a video essay on Adam McKay, basically essentially why I think he's one of basically the most exciting filmmakers working today. So before I get into that, I'd love to hear your thoughts on my video. I mean, you can shit on it if you want to. I'm not going to get offended at all. Please, be completely honest.
No, I totally agree just in general with everything you're saying about Adam McKay, and I was really excited. I forget what he won last year or 2 years ago for Big Short. I want to say it was best, it was a
Script.
writing Golden
Script.
Globe or Oscar or whatever. But he's really smart, and you have to be a great comedy writer. And I think people, I mean, I think everybody likes comedies, but I think especially if you like Will Ferrell or Jim Carrey, the dumb comedies, I'm air quoting, but if you like those, people don't give those movies as much respect as I think they deserve from a writing standpoint and a directing standpoint. So I have always kind of been no, these guys are good. They just chose to do this, and you guys might not respect Anchorman as much as just a really good movie. Or I think my favorite, and I forget which one you said was your favorite, but every time I go back to it, The Other Guys is probably one of my favorite just comedies in general. But like, and he made that one, right? I'm not crazy.
Yeah, no, he made both the Anchormans, Step Brothers, Other Guys, and Talladega Nights. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I think some of those are just such like slick, well put together movies that I've always been like, man, if this guy ever does something else, it'll probably be great. And I also love all those books by
Michael Lewis.
Michael Lewis. Yeah. I think the way he tells stories about like the economy that are about subjects like, you know, co-location for servers on different stock markets. I was always like really impressed by how accessible he makes it. That when I heard that Adam McKay was working on The Big Short, I was like, this is a movie like written for me. Like Hollywood, you've been reading my diary. That's great. Keep reading it. Cause like that movie felt awesome. And it was so good when, you know, that the finished product, all the performances were amazing.
Dude,
I don't think like Steve
unreal.
Carell got nearly enough credit cause he was insane in that. But yeah, so I'm super excited for Vice, and yeah, I completely agree that I think he is one of the most exciting filmmakers because everything he's done before is good, but he has so much potential and like so much in the tank that can be really amazing.
Yeah, I agree. And like, you know, so if the people in the chat were saying like, you know, Edgar Wright's the best director, you know, den at me and stuff, like I'm not necessarily saying that like Adam McKay is the best director working today or anything like that. I'm not saying that at all. Even though I love his movies, like, you know, obviously I'm not saying he's like the most skilled director or the most, you know, whatever director. But what I am saying is like the fact that this guy, well, I'll make a couple of different points here. Number one, he transitioned from making dick joke comedies a couple years ago into making a movie that's not only really accessible, about really like kind of, you know, subject matter that people find very dense in modern times today, but he did it in a way where legitimately anybody with a nominal understanding of the economy could come back, and even if they don't agree with some of the political stances he takes, they can understand exactly what he's saying, you know, and basically recounting history in a more or less accurate way. And so, but the thing is, like, with the exciting part of it, like, and this is honest to God how I made the video, I was like trolling around YouTube and in between looking for dank ass memes, I basically found that interview with Tarantino, and I was like, you know, this is interesting. Like, who does Tarantino think are the most exciting filmmakers? And so, like, you know, he talks about basically how an exciting filmmaker is someone who's made great stuff, but like, you know, that like the next movie could possibly be their best one. And that really struck out to me because like, I honestly didn't know how to feel about Adam McKay when I first saw The Big Short, because, you know, obviously I love Anchorman, I love Step Brothers and all those movies and stuff. And so when he made this like completely divergent movie, I was thinking, wow, is this movie really divergent from his original style, or is there something deeper that actually comes from his original style? And like, I watched his other movies in preparation for making that video essay, and like he definitely has a decent amount to say about American culture just from those movies. I mean, like, a lot of his movies start out with like, you know, the black screen, the white text, and like he uses Eleanor Roosevelt, he uses a George Bush quote, he uses like, you know, almost like a situational, like, you know, the following story is true, like you would see like in a political focused movie. And so like, I feel like even though like the subject matter is rather intellectually elevated from his previous work, what he's doing right now, I think it's born out of the fact that he was an incredibly successful comedy director, and because he knows exactly how to convey emotion in comedy, he's able to seamlessly incorporate that in his drama. And it's incredible because like now he's working with some of the best actors who are working today, and you know, looking at his past filmography, the fact that he's doing that after making all these like absurdist yet iconic comedies is really profound. So I'm super excited for Vice, and honestly, like, I think Adam McKay's comedy has really kind of made him into a very formidable force for directing that I don't think a lot of directors have these days, because people usually stick in one style and then they deviate a little bit and they come back to whatever they're making before because it's more comfortable. But with him, I feel like he's integrating the best of both worlds, where he's making, you know, more smart, quote unquote, subject matter, but he's also bringing his own quirky style into it. and the fact that he started in absurd comedies really makes him honestly like such an interesting guy to follow. And so I'm so pumped to see what he has to say. So I'm very glad you didn't hate my video and you actually agree with some of it. So that's good.
Oh, totally. I've been a big fan of Adam McKay for, I mean, obviously since like, you know, Anchorman and all that stuff, which is great. But I think one of the things about him as a director, and I want to triple check this, but like I don't think I'm going to say anything super wrong, is that like he's really good at attracting like really insane talent to be part of his movies. Like, I mean, in the other guys came out in 2010. I just had the Wikipedia open. Yeah, other guys came out in 2010. So like the first big, I would say like the other guys is probably the first movie where Michael Keaton was like back. Like he was back in some stuff, you know, he's around, but 2010, the other guys, boom, awesome. And then, you know, we start getting all the movies that won him a ton of awards and, you know, even like the stuff like Spider-Man where he's terrific. You know, and like, he's also good at getting really good performances out of actors who in a lot of scenarios are not very good. Like, you know, you take Mark Wahlberg and put him in a Michael Bay movie, you're not going to get all that much out of him, but you take him and put him in the other guys, like, you know, he could really, Adam McKay seems very capable of seeing the strengths in, you know, in like what this guy is going to bring to the table, which is why I'm so excited about like Vice, which is out like in a couple weeks. And I was torn because there's a screening of it on the same day as there's a screening for Bumblebee. And like, I have to go see Bumblebee, but I really want to see Vice.
I'm seeing Vice.
Like,
fuck that shit.
I know it's tough, but we got like Christian Bale, Amy Adams, Steve Carell, and then Sam Rockwell, one of my like favorite, I wouldn't say underrated actors, because now he's like the most, you know, famous, like he's super famous. But yeah, I think like I think the casts he collects are just so talented, and it's because he's so good at directing actors. And also I saw Armored Penguin, you're throwing out some Michael Keaton quotes from the other guys, which is I think maybe the funniest part of the movie besides when they go see Jersey Boys. But like when Michael, or whatever his name is in the movie, Michael Keaton's character is just like
TLC,
creep like church mice. Yeah, so funny. Yeah, and like, yeah, it's so weird. And I think the other thing that's so great about him, and we'll see but I think Vice got nominated for some stuff, so it's probably at least not bad, is he writes a lot of stuff. Like he writes maybe not all of his movies, but like a good chunk of his movies. So he really knows like the material inside and out. And I think that's why he's able to turn some of these, you know, what would be a kind of a complicated script into something that's like really, really coherent. And even like, you know, he adds stuff to it that you wouldn't otherwise be able to because of the level of control he's able to exert over projects like this. Yeah. So I'm very excited for Vice, and I'm sure I'll tweet about it a lot once I see it. But also I'm just a huge like nerd for politics, so I think
me too. And you know, once we know each other a little better, we can definitely get into some politics on our next podcast.
Definitely not right now. But yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, without even like caring about the actual, you know, philosophies or outcomes, I just think the stories are so interesting.
Oh, for sure.
That
100%.
Like having him tell one of those stories is just going to be really interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And but you know, last line I'll say before you wrap it up. Adam McKay's funniest part of any movie he's ever done, and people can at me on this if they want to, I don't really care. The other guys, when The Rock and Samuel Jackson are blasting There Goes My Hero by the Foo Fighters, and they're slowly falling towards the pavement, and you're like, oh, they're going to grab a wire, right? Oh, they're going to grab a wire, right? They're going to grab it, and they're dead.
Yeah. Like, Dan and Highsmith, man, they're just the best cops that ever lived. But they, like, yeah, Aim for the Bushes is also probably my favorite bit from any of his movies. Although
it's incredible.
I love the bit. I mean, and Big Short is like just kind of fresh in my mind because I've been thinking about it a lot. Keep seeing like, trailers and ads for Vice, but like the bit where Ryan Gosling explains the derivatives to Steve Carell and his like crew, I think is so funny. Yeah, and it's like the editing is really slick, and what he's saying I find so entertaining. I'm trying to think. I mean, I think Aim for the Bushes might be the funniest part.
With the Asian guy, where it's like, this is my quant. What? My quantitative. My math. I'll give you a hint. His name is Yang.
His name is
English.
Yang.
Actually, my name is Jung, and I do speak English. Like that part in the theater, I was laughing for a good fucking like 10 minutes. I was dying.
Yeah, and that's the other thing about like Adam McKay is just so great. He also understands so well what is funny about the stories he's telling and the way he's directing things, that when you get to jokes like that, he knows exactly how you're going to react to it. So like you instinctively it is funny that Ryan Gosling is like screaming, his name is Yen at this little like this guy he's working with that isn't saying anything, just being real quiet. But there is a hint of like, oh, this is like a little racist. Should I be laughing at this? And then immediately he comes in and explains it, and then now you're laughing at Ryan Gosling, and it's hilarious. So like he's just really good at like moving a lot of these things, like all the pieces at the right time. So yeah, I think I think Aim for the Bushes, though, I agree, is probably my favorite bit from all of these. And I think the problem with the reason it's the best in my head is just like Anchorman and Talladega Nights have been quoted so much and they're so funny, but Aim for the Bushes seems just in that right zone where I know it's funny. Everybody that's seen it knows it's funny, but it hasn't been played out to the extent that when I see it on TV, like if I'm just the other guys is like on TV, I'm like, oh, awesome. This is really funny and new. Yeah.
Yeah, man. And obviously, hilarious movies, but this has been awesome, man. Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. I think we got along fucking famously, and since we're aligned on whether it be politics or just general movie stuff, I'd love to have you on maybe after we both see Vice, or maybe another movie that comes out later this year or early next year. I'd love to have you on again if you're down to do it.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm trying to think. I mean, Vice is a good one, although that's going to be around Christmas, which is going to make everybody's schedules messy.
Sure, yeah.
Like I know for our shows, it's going to be a nightmare. For my podcast, Mostly Nitpicking, we do like a movie a week, and it's not only Christmas those weeks, but that's also when like Bumblebee and Aquaman and the Sherlock Holmes, Will Ferrell, John C. Reilly movie come out. So like we're just going to be like, scrambling to do all this stuff. But I'm trying to think. I don't really know what comes out in early January, but I mean, we could also just potentially wait a little bit and talk about Vice or talk about something else, like Marvel stuff or whatever.
No, for sure.
Because I feel like I read a lot about the DCU and stuff, but like the amount of times I've watched all of these Marvel movies, I honestly feel like I could write like a a dissertation on it. So
get a PhD, man. Be like me, man. You can get a PhD in dank memes and Marvel comics, dude.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's exactly what I need. I have some debt, but I could use like an insane amount of debt. So let's get some more education loans.
Yeah, let's credential chase. But yeah, man, thanks a lot for doing this. Tell the people at home where they can find you. I have your Twitter. I have your Twitter name in the actual image of this podcast. But where can I find you?
Well, yeah, I mean, so obviously youtube.com/Nando V Movies is my YouTube channel where I put all my videos, and it's pretty much only there. So that's kind of the hub where everything lives. I have nandovmovies.com, and it is technically a website that has links to stuff on it, but it's otherwise pretty useless and unspecial. My podcast that I was just kind of talking about, Mostly Nitpicking, me and my co-host DJ pick apart a pop culture thing every week by looking at the details. It's on all the podcast sites, and everywhere you can get a podcast, it's there. And we're at Nitpicking Pod on Twitter, which I would even say, like, I feel like I'm a fun follow, like at Nando V Movies on Twitter. But Nitpicking Pod, we actually we'll tweet out like, hey, what movie should we do this week? So it's more of an actual like useful part of the thing, of like the podcast. So I would recommend if people listen to the podcast to follow that. Besides that, like I've got a Patreon, I've got a Discord channel, I've got a subreddit. It is all just Nando v Movies. So I'm trying to think. I don't think there's anything I have where you can't just go to that thing and search Nando v Movies and find it.
All right,
But
sweet,
yeah,
man.
and if you ever, I'm not going to completely give out my like handle, but if you're ever playing Overwatch with a guy whose name is just Nando, there's a good chance it's me. So say hi. But yeah, I want to say, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's, I'm sure there's something I'm forgetting, but that's most of it. Yeah. And
Yeah, for sure, man. I'll definitely put all those links that you put. You know, I'll edit this video probably like really quick tonight, and then just post this. But yeah, man. Really awesome to have you here, and of course, I want to have you on again. So you know, please, you know, if you ever need a guest for the Nitpicking Podcast, let me know. And obviously, I want to have you on my podcast again sometime soon. So thanks for doing this, Nando. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. And if you follow at Nando v Movies on Twitter, I realized I never did this. I do want to tweet out a link to Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines commentary track. So it's not the whole track. It's just like a short video of it, but I will put that up now. So you can you can look at that if you want, because it really is worth a little bit of whatever 3 minutes of your day.
I will do just that.
Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, we'll talk soon.
All right, sounds good. And with that, we are out of here at Long Chemist Podcast, episode 15. This is Nando v Movies, and I will put all of his links in the description of this video when it's uploaded. Thanks a lot, Nando. Peace out.
Awesome. Adios.